Welcome back, folks, to the Get a Grip on Lighting podcast. On today's show of the Conversation series, you have Henrik Clausen and Deborah Burnett, along with yours truly, Michael Colligan. And this conversation, if you're into health effects, is like the door opening to a deeper conversation that was just between Deborah and Henrik. And that deeper conversation can be found in the Get a Grip on Lighting podcast YouTube channel in the link on the website with this show. This is like an introduction. And, most distributors, they want to know that overview. But if you want to go deeper, you got to listen to the conversation between Henrik and Deborah on their own. And that is on YouTube, and it's a link on the site on Get a Grip on Lighting. But before we get to this one, we got to tell you about Technical Consumer Products. Go to tcpi.com. That's right, the craziest folks in lighting. But you know what, man? They got so many products, so much wonderful things there. I really like their aisle lighter fixture. Man, it's a beautiful fixture if you're doing a lot of rack aisles. And distributors out there know what I'm talking about. Those warehouses are so juicy. Check out their rack aisle fixtures. Check out their color selectable tubes. Go to tcpi.com. That's right, the craziest folks in lighting. And of course, the National Association of Innovative Lighting Distributors. Get educated, get associated. Let's go. Ellis Evolve. That's right. But for right now, it's myself, and I'm honored to be with Henrik and Deborah. You had mentioned a couple times and gave us a bunch of instances of colors of organs and how some of these organs had matched the chakra colors and so on that we have from the ancients, some of this ancient wisdom that we see kind of people are turning back towards again to maybe refresh modern science with. Does the human body respond to light other than light absorbed from the eyes? Yes or no, Deborah?
Yes.
Now, Henrik, how, as a designer, you were talking about the hospitals a little bit on the show. How does that make the challenge of the hospital environment that you were looking at? How does it expand the scope by a magnitude?
It's a really great question, and it's so hard for me to answer because we work to international standards. We have like a color rendering index, we have a color temperature. We don't have anything legal to back up that we want to create good lighting for people. It's the lighting designer, the architect, and the engineer together does that, together with the staff at the hospital. And it works sometimes, but other times it doesn't work at all. So it's really, really hard to get there. Everybody in the group needs to buy into it, and then the magic can happen, but it's rare.
Deborah, when you're one of the things I like to look at on the Get a Grip on Lighting podcast, and this is not a yes or no, so I just wanted to get that out of the way so everyone understood.
You constrained me with the yes or no answer.
Yeah, I had to on that one. So so one of the things that we talked to UL about their verifying marketing claims badge. You see the DLC out there and these various accreditation and certification agencies, right? And I always find that the best certifications or accreditations are when we're removing a negative, right? So I'm certifying that this product has no flicker, right? That's a claim that you can make, and that's a healthy claim, right? So those two things correspond with one another. And the health benefit, there's a direct connection that if you have non-flickering LED lights, the people in that space will be healthier. So it's a lot easier for us to remove the negatives from lighting systems and then claim a health benefit. It's much harder for us to impose a positive and say that this new lighting now that we're putting in here is going to improve productivity or reduce sick days or doing. The first question would be, are there any other negatives that you're seeing that we can remove from lighting, which would be immediate wins?
There are a number. Number one, I'm going to start off right now, that corresponds with what you're speaking about, something that we can get a quantifiable estimate of the problem. And I say that quantifiable estimate, as well as a solution, and that is glare, interior and exterior glare. If we treat glare from a lighting perspective as if everyone in the space were elderly and had, degrading ciliary muscles, as I spoke about earlier during our podcast, then we would be creating a universal friendly interior environment that is eliminated with artificial electric light.
Okay, let me ask you a question
Glare,
on that.
number
Let me
one.
ask you a question on that. So that's
Yes.
beautiful. That's exactly what I was looking for. Now, is that why when I walk into an office of completely indirect light fixtures, so when you hang the luminaire from the ceiling, there's no downlight coming out of the fixture at all, but just enough uplight, like lots of lumens coming out of the top, that it reflects off the ceiling and down. That space feels very comfortable to me for some reason. Is that because of the
Yes.
elimination of glare?
That contributes. But the reason, again, you have to go back to the body, and you have to go back to the way that our skull is formed. We have a brow ridge for a reason. We have a brow ridge for a reason, as well as our natural inclination to daylight. In other words, light during the non-darkened hours is at 30 degrees. So I'm going to change a little bit, and hopefully you can capture this. 30 degrees. So we are constantly looking out and away from us. We are also looking down. And eye capture is something that is quantifiable. And so when you walk into a space and you're in a research program that is examining eye capture, we know exactly where the eye tends to go first, even though you may not be aware of it. The eye is always going to go down to the ground. That's a survival mechanism. You want to make sure that when you're walking, you're not walking on ice or into a quicksand or whatever. And then it's going up. It's always going up to see the furthest distance that you can see. Because we have 3 layers of focal length in our eye as from also a survival mechanism. We want to be able to see as far as we can to prevent any, long range danger, immediate danger, and a foreground danger. That's survival
So when we
mechanism.
eliminate the glare, the elimination of glare is an increased level of comfort, I think is what you're saying.
Yes, totally. And it
And that
aligns with the
corresponds, hang on,
physiology and anatomy.
and that corresponds to better health outcomes, Henrik. I think that's what I'm hearing. And what I want to ask you is, there's a lot of people talking about, health effects of lighting. And one of the things is this comparison between sunlight with being 5,000 lux in the shade and this kind of stuff, and bringing 5,000 lux vertically into offices and all this. And I was very wary of this because I've actually been in a paint booth, like where they paint cars, where they have like 700 lux on the surface, and it's vertically coming out of the fixture, and it's not flickering because it's T8 LED tubes, and it's 25,000 hertz. There's a lot of pressure from that. And I'm going to throw this over to Heinrich because it was coming out of Europe. This is a assertion of the vertical illuminance in the space having to be very, very high to help with circadian stimulus. I find there could be a lot of potential downsides to that. What do you think, Henrik?
It's a relatively new area, because what we are trying to say is we wanna imagine you are standing at the beach, you're looking out over the ocean, and you have this dome over your head, and of course the dome also has the horizon as well as it has the top, and it's virtually equally lit. So if you had like the same brightness or the same luminance levels on the walls and on the ceiling, it would probably feel the same. The problem with the way you are describing indirect lighting, as you did earlier, is that it's dull, it's boring, it's not inspiring in any way. So when you enter a space like that, you feel good the first moments. If you're in there for 3 hours, you get the rainy day feeling. It's like there's no clouds, there's nothing moving, there's no direct sunbeams. It's like, boy, it's boring to be in here.
So I feel that I'm going to take one second.
I need to come back to me because I think I can solve the problem between the both of you.
Let me. I just want to insert one thing into the difference between what Henrik just said and what you just said. Okay, when you're outside, your eyes are refocusing for this long distance view.
Yes.
That's not available to you inside.
Right.
So when you're looking away, and you're under very bright sunlight and you have that 30-degree angle and all that, and you got your eyelids, your eyes are actually refocusing
Lighthouse.
or to
Yeah.
look far off into the
Close.
sunrise, right? And
Mhm.
that doesn't occur inside though, Deborah. Is that the problem that maybe I'm talking about, or am I off base on that?
Okay, so
Good
the
question.
metric that you're assigning to the European requiring vertical luminance walls, that is best achieved when you have wall washing light that's shining the light onto the
Yeah.
wall, and then
Yes.
it's coming back to the individual as a reflected light value off of the pigments that are on that
Mm.
wall, LRV.
Yeah.
So the eye is getting that uh, comfort that Henrik was speaking about, but you're not getting the car paint booth that you experienced. Jim and I actually had worked on a project. A world class car manufacturer had to work with the paint booths. Where they send the cars in and they spray paint the cars in the manufacturing process. And those truly are vertical lighting.
Mm.
And it's very powerful. And what you experience is like, yeah, whew, this is way too much, even though it may
Yeah.
be the same lumen output as
Mm.
what you have in what the European model is recommending.
Okay, so
So,
let me take this back over to Heinrich.
pigments also contribute to your circadian
So
input
the
for your
distributor,
eyes.
the distributor who sells on the counter, he's getting what he needs here. I'm going to throw it back over to Henrik here. So those regulations from the European Union or what have you, that those regulations, do they stipulate that indirect wall wash effect, or is it just vertical lighting that they're calling for?
It's vertical lighting on your face. Where you get it from doesn't really matter. But if you want to get it so that your eye level can adapt, your retina can adapt, and your pupil size can adjust, you need it from a big soft area, not from anywhere where you can see a light source or a bright one.
Right.
And that's why
Mhm.
we are trying to boost. We want suspended fixtures, more light on the ceiling, more light on the walls, and it's one of them is
Mhm.
achieved by suspended fixtures, the other one by wall washes. Just as
Okay,
Yeah,
Deborah said.
and I
so
100% agree with that. Yes.
okay,
And
that's
that's what we did on that project that I explained during the podcast. Yeah.
now. Other than so the interior design really is its heart is really lighting design in a sense, right? So,
Yes.
but are we calling for a direct health benefit of this? And I'll let Deborah go first on this one because are we actually suggesting that this, or actually saying that this combination that Henrik just laid out, is that combination helping our circadian rhythm? Do we know that to be true? Or is it just good design and people feel good, Deborah?
As far as I know, I have not come across any hard research, whether it be emerging research or established research to that. However, you have to understand that when you're dealing with glare, there is, significant research on glare, but it's in a very controlled environment. And the way that our scientific research is established, both in the medical community and the lighting community, which, by the way, they don't talk to each other very well, and they're using different terms and different understandings.
Mm-hmm.
Their budgets are so constrained that in order to get the money to do a study, it has to be very specific, and somebody has to push really hard to get somebody in the research facility to spend the money and spend the time to examine it. And that's going to be so low down on the totem pole, we may never get to that in our lifetime. But
Okay.
this is where understanding the physiology of the body comes in. If you understand how the body works, you don't
We,
even have to do anything more than just strongly recommend what Henrik is saying. Put light on the ceiling, put light on the walls, and have it reflect back in, not come
Okay.
out of the
Henrik, I know
wall.
I know you want to jump in here. I'm just gonna give
you
your.
could
I
see
know
that.
you're ready to go. I'm gonna throw in a little street knowledge on light fixtures from being in the field before you comment. Okay. So one of the things that we know, you remember those little paracube lenses that everyone was putting in back in the early '90s that in fluorescent fixtures? Okay.
Okay.
I believe that those cause seasonal affective disorder because what would happen is they would push all the lights straight down. So in an office, to stop the glare coming off the screens, right, of the CRT monitors, but what the effect was all the
Ah, okay.
office walls were dark, right?
Yep.
So
Mm-hmm.
all the office walls at once, there was some spillage over onto the walls, and you looked across the room and you could see a bright wall, and now you're seeing dark walls everywhere, and it kind of caused people. There was I can't remember where I read it. It might have been Arnold Wilkins actually that I talked to about this, Dr. Wilkins. But Heinrich, Deborah says no to the circadian rhythm, that there's no health benefit. You want it to not that there is no research proving it, if I can say.
Research proving.
Right.
Yeah, no
Okay.
And
research
And so I'm going to go over to you. What do you have to say about that?
that I'm aware
we
of.
o- we only do it for comfort. It's visual comfort. It's stated everywhere in the European norms. It's not done. It doesn't have anything to do with circadian lighting. It's just
Hmm.
to reduce glare. Because
Okay.
when you adapt
Right.
with the bright lights, you can have a brighter ceiling lamp without feeling the glare. That's what it's for. It's nothing to do any
Okay.
biological effect.
Now,
No.
now,
I
Bud
got to
Brainer.
ask one more question before you have everyone will have a moment to finish because I just want to get.
Okay.
I know what distributors want to know here. Okay.
Okay.
Um, People going out and claiming that this has a circadian benefit. There's a lot of people right now claiming that this vertical illumination, when done like this, has a proven circadian benefit. And if you use their system, you're going to see benefits in your workers. Is that claim premature, let's say, Deborah?
You're speaking about lights coming out of the wall. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, like light
No,
directly or
Like in the high and the pink,
high light levels on the vertical plane is what's going to help
not
people.
not from reflected colors, the pigments reflecting that light back, but actually the light luminaires mounted in the walls are coming out like
Yes,
they are in a paint.
yes,
Okay.
yes.
Well, I mean, everybody can sell snake oil. That's the
Oh my.
bottom
Whew.
line.
Okay,
Yeah. I
Henrik,
mean,
that was a yes or no answer basically.
it was,
that's
but
an easy.
it's. I have to agree. What we are trying to encourage in Europe is that we put our lux meter next to our eyes, and we
Mhm.
measure the lux level. We correlate it with the spectral distribution, and either it's direct or indirect. It's very hard to get these levels. So I haven't seen anything do what you're saying. So I haven't seen it work
Okay.
anywhere. If you want to do this,
And
you need to have a
mhm,
soft distribution from a skylight or a ceiling, as we talked about, a lot of 600 by 600 fixtures in the ceiling who creates a Lambertian distribution. You put your head into
yes.
the Lambertian, you measure 600 lux, then you have a biological response as a rule of thumb.
Wow.
Yeah, and that biological response would be most primarily on the ciliary muscles, those eye
Yes.
ciliary muscles for glare. And what I was about to say earlier, Bud Brainerd is doing some work on something that I mentioned to him back in 2009, which was the paint color, the pigment color, light reflectance value. So how that plays in to what our system is. Yeah, and so Henrik, you remember this? As I was walking up to give that speech in Berlin, I bent down and gave Bud a paper and mentioned something to him, and everybody was like, "What's she talking about?" And that was the moment that James Benya realized that I was giving the keynote, and he had no idea.
I
So
Was
thought I
probably
thought you
when
were
he.
going to say that's when he fell in love with you. But
Yeah, I
anyway,
think I would.
he
That was exactly
has
what I
said
was
that,
going to
yes,
say.
after I kicked Bud.
okay. So, folks, we got it to the distribution level here, and it's it's our honor to have Henrik Clausen and Deborah Burnett with us. You got to go to tcpi.com after that conversation with Henrik and Deborah. Wow, unbelievable. Now, they go a lot deeper on a show just between the two of them on the YouTube channel. And so you can go to Get a Grip on Lighting's YouTube channel and you can look for it. If you're in January still or early February, it'll be right at the top. If not, scroll down a little bit and you'll find it. Or if you're on the getagriponlighting.com website, you can check out this episode and there'll be a link to the YouTube, the bigger episode on YouTube with Henrik and Deborah as they go deeper into the health effects of lighting and how lighting impacts our lives. Wow, what a great conversation though with those two. and of course the National Association of Innovative Lighting Distributors. We got to talk about TCPI again, tcpi.com. You know, I could go on about the folks at TCP. As a distributor, I have such a wonderful relationship with them. They're extremely supportive and knowledgeable. They got great products, awesome pricing, great service. They ship orders for you. They drop ship orders. If you're a distributor and you don't have an account with TCP, what are you waiting for? What a great company to work with. Bye for now. Check you out next week. Check us out next week. Bye for now.